and welcome to another Smaulgld live stream. Today is Thursday, September 20th, 2018. Today we are going to talk about JP Morgan again. JP Morgan's COMEX silver vault shrinks by 1,781,715 ounces. Now, I changed it, not the last minute, but in the last couple hours. I was going to talk about Russia's $1 million gold acquisition. Yes, in August, Russia added another 1 million ounces of gold to reserves. Now, that's a big deal, and I report on it every month. I already did a YouTube on it, and I've also done a blog post with a lot of charts. So if you were looking to tune in tonight and hear about the Russian gold reserve addition, you can go back. I'll give you the link there. There's the link to the Russian gold big monthly purchase in August. There's also a YouTube on that, and there's a BitChute. So with the link I've just popped up there, you can get all the charts on today's announcement of Russia's gold reserves. 1 million ounces added. They're at just shy of 2,000 tons. Lots of charts in that link there. And then there's a YouTube video about 9-10 minutes. You can watch it on BitChute. Also, if you are on Reel.video, I uploaded it there as well. So plenty of places to capture that. Sorry we're not going to cover that tonight because I will take questions at the end if you want to talk about the Russian gold reserves. I want to go through this JP Morgan COMEX vault and all this talk about JP Morgan owning silver. And Salivate Metal did a YouTube on this. A nice job of going through what he thought. We're going to cover that as well. But first, let us take a look at the gold and silver markets. The silver closed around 1430. Pretty much where it opened. It opened 1429. Had a rough morning, recaptured its losses, and closed again at 1431. Gold is pretty much the same thing, although it finished higher. Opened around 1205, 1206, if I remember rightly, and then it closed around 1207. So that gold-silver ratio is still holding up. Dow Jones hit another record, 26,656, up 251 points, nearly 1% gain for the Dow. Nasdaq, same thing, almost a 1% gain at 8,028. The S&P 500, 2930, up 0.78. The dollar index has been taking a hit the last, I'd say, few weeks here now. It's at 93.89. Although the Chinese yuan has not really regained much of its coverage, of its losses, and the Shanghai Gold Exchange is also down pretty much. As to the cryptocurrencies, there's a couple of spikes today. Bitcoin right now is over 6,500. It's at 6,517, up 1.5% over the last 24 hours. Bitcoin Cash took a bit of a ride up to about $460. That's up about 6%. Ethereum now at $225, up about 7%. And Litecoin also took a bit of a ride up. All this in the last hour or two, up to about 57. Okay. Now what you're looking at, I believe, on the screen is the silver ETF demand, and the largest green part of that box is the amount of silver in the SLV ETF. Now before we get started, back in, looks like this is August 2016, so this is over 2 years ago, I had done a blog post. Let's take a look here. It's called JP Morgan and Silver. And this story about JP Morgan owning countless amounts of silver and how they're going to, who knows what they're going to do with it. The fact that they have it is supposed to be bullish. The fact is, what this article points out that I did that I just linked to in August of 2016. It says here, JP Morgan and its affiliates own and or control between 432 and 582 million ounces of silver. And I go through this where people come up with these ideas that they might have silver. So I had been checking the silver mining shares, what JP Morgan might have, and it looks like in some of their investment affiliates, they hold some mining shares. This was a couple of years ago. But that you really can't say they own any silver if you own mining shares. You don't control the company. So that's not, I wouldn't include that in anything. Now, Salivate Metal was talking about this as well. And I think Chris Duane was talking about it. And they both rightly point out that what's in the silver ETF, JP Morgan, is under their control. Obviously, if they're the custodian, but they don't own it. And no one, I don't think, no one, not one of the people who are saying that JP Morgan has a lot of silver claims that JP Morgan owns that silver. But it is important to note that they control, and as of today, that amount is 334 million ounces and almost 335 million ounces, and that is from the SLV website. Now, when I did this report back in August of 2016, there was actually a little more silver in there at the time. There was 356 million ounces. So that's under their control, but there's nothing they can really do with that. Now, the silver that is of the most interest to me is what's in the JP Morgan COMEX vault. Now, back in August of 2016, I published a chart that showed they had 75.8 million ounces at the time. About half of what they have today in 2018. Now, that silver is under their control for sure, but we don't know if it's owned by them outright or whether they're owning it for clients or holding it for clients, or whether there's a combination of some of it's theirs and some of it's owned for clients. We don't know. So that amount right now is in the 140 some odd million ounce range, where at least you can point to something. You say they might own it, but there's nothing to indicate that they do own it, but at least it's in one place. Unlike an SLV, where it's a custodial arrangement where you know they don't own it, then that you have to move aside. And now we're stuck with just the JP Morgan silver stock. Now, some have said that JP Morgan might also own Silver Eagles, Maple Leafs, different numbers there. At the time in 2016, I have here email correspondence to me. Butler writes to me, today I would up that number to 100 million ounces of Silver Eagles and 50 million Canadian Maple Leafs. And a month or two ago, someone had said it was, I think in the comments, that it was 500 million. I said, oh, now it's at 500 million. Mr. Butler wrote to me and said, no, it's not at 500 million. That would be impossible because that's basically all. There was more than were even minted. I think he said at the time that it was 150 million Silver Eagles and 50 million Canadian Maple Leafs. I don't know. Whatever the number is, those are additional amounts of silver that would be ascribed directly to JP Morgan ownership. And then the thought there was that those Silver Eagles and Maple Leafs were somehow melted down into 1,000 ounce bars, and I don't know where they're stored. And then apparently, as the theory goes, there's even more silver that they have, and that the total amount, I think, is 700-800 million ounces. Now, you cannot account for in any way, shape, or form any of the silver other than the COMEX vault, but you can't ascribe ownership to it. The Eagles, the Maple Leafs, any other silver, there's nothing anywhere to indicate that they have it, and there's no documents. It's just someone says they have them, and there's reasons why they might have them. There's rationale, and I don't want to get into it because I don't want to misstate what the rationale might be. The point is, it's speculation. And speculation is fine. There's nothing wrong with speculation, but people cite it as if JP Morgan has 700, 800, 900 million ounces of silver. There's no way of even proving that. And again, there's no way to disprove it, but anytime you have a position that you want to make a point, it's up to you to prove it, not for people to disprove it. Because I could start saying Goldman Sachs has all this silver. I mean, why not? If the rationale is JP Morgan has it, then why wouldn't Goldman Sachs want to have it? So to me, you can't say that they have this silver. You can't even say they own the silver in the COMEX vault. Now, let's put all that aside. You know where I stand on that. They don't have 800 million ounces. I mean, you might as well say they have 2 billion ounces. It doesn't make a stitch of sense to me. But that's not the point. The point is, let's play along with it. Not with the... I can't play along with the other silver that somehow they own eagles and maple leafs and they melted them down. That doesn't make any sense to me. But let's say that they do, or the theory is they do own each and every ounce in the COMEX depository. All right, so let's stick with that. But something curious is happening. And the idea is, from what I understand, is that JP Morgan has this silver and they stand to profit from the price rise. Now, the reason this doesn't make much sense to me either is because they've been buying the silver on the way down. I don't know if anyone's tried to calculate what they bought, but if you look at the chart here, if they've been buying since 2014, 15, 16, 17, and continued, well, we know what the price has done during that time period. It was up in the well over $20 and in 2014, and it's been falling. So they're actually sitting on a loss, I would imagine, on all the silver they bought, because we're at pretty much a multi-year low right now. So for them to make their money back, the price would have to rise a lot, and I don't know how they would have avoided paying the $2 fabrication charge at a minimum per silver eagle. So that doesn't make any sense. But in any event, if the idea is that they have all this silver, that they probably paid an average of $20 an ounce or more, that somehow they're going to allow the price to rise, and then they'll profit when the price rises. Now, the other day I had done a article or YouTube talking about why I didn't see anything that strange in how the commercials had gone net long for the first time, because it looked like to me the reason that happened was that they had been net short for so long, and then it looked like it was just time to go. And remember, it's not all the commercials, it's just their net positions, and it was time for them to go long. And the idea is, well, the next time they're just going to let it fly. Now, the problem I have with that JP Morgan is going to decide to, quote, let it fly and therefore allow the price to rise. The problem with that is JP Morgan has been identified by many as the company that's in charge of not allowing the silver price to fly, but in allowing and keeping the silver price down. That supposedly is their task, according to the theory, that the U.S. government got them there to make sure that silver doesn't go any higher. So I don't know why they would somehow be allowed to allow the price now to rise. Well, the idea is, well, they're going to make a lot of money off of it. Well, there's so many schemes that JP Morgan can pull, and they do pull, and they've paid fines on them where they can make money. Collecting silver for 7 or 8 years, you know, doesn't make much sense. And people can defend this, say, oh, but when it goes to 150, 300, whatever the fantastical number is, well, then they're really going to cash in, and when the whole system collapses, they have gold and they're the silver and they're the kings. But first of all, I haven't even established that they have that silver. And my theory is, it's not even a theory because I don't even believe they have it, but if they did have it, and if I believed that JP Morgan was the manipulator to the downside, I would argue that the reason they have the silver is if the paper silver ever gets low enough and people start to catch on and they start to buy silver in large amounts of silver and they can't keep the paper price connected to the physical price because people start to pay a premium, well, then they flood the market with the physical silver that they have and they accomplish their goal as the manipulators to the downside. It's just a scenario. I mean, obviously they've managed to do it with paper so they wouldn't need the physical, But first of all, I don't even think they have it. So I'm just saying, one, you have to get past the fact that they have it, and then two, you got to believe the nonsense that they have it for this reason, because they're going to let it ride and they're going to make a fortune when it finally goes higher. Okay. Remember, who's going to make the fortune? See, that's what I don't understand. Remember, JP Morgan's a corporation. They make money every year. They don't place long-term bets for 9 or 10 years. It doesn't make much sense. But again, it's speculation, and people are entitled to their speculation. But here's where, if you're going to play along, the theory starts to fall down, in my opinion. All right, so now we're looking at, let's see what we got here. There we go. Okay. So earlier this month, the JP Morgan Chase depository was stocked up with 145,408,090 ounces of silver. And that was the silver that they were going to use, or the theory goes, that along with the other 600, 700, 800 million ounces, they're going to ride into glory and make massive killer profits, as if they don't already. They make $24 billion a year already, but put that aside. Okay, so now if you take the idea that somehow this is all theirs, this is their silver, and they've also got other silver, but I'm not even going to go there. Let's say they own this 145.4 million ounces that they've already paid a premium for because they've been buying it for the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, so they're suffering like everybody else, meaning that the price that they paid is higher than what they have now. Well, then you would think they're holding on for dear life, right? They're hodlers. They're not going to get rid of this silver. They're just going to keep riding this pile higher. They're going to add more and more and more silver until they have so much silver that they're going to have the biggest silver hoard in the world. And they're going to have 200, 300, 400, 500 million ounces just in the JP Morgan depository alone. And they're going to profit from it when the price goes higher. They're just going to let it ride. And then they're going to sell into the market. And they're going to be geniuses. Okay, well, if they're supposedly holding on to this amount of silver, why then would we see this? They have 145,408,090 ounces there. And the other day we reported that, according to these numbers, and you have to believe these numbers, if you're going to believe the theory that there's all this silver in the COMEX warehouse, you have to trust the numbers. If you don't trust the numbers, then you're just making everything up. So you have to kind of go with these numbers. So then we reported the other day that JP Morgan COMEX vault shed over 1.19 million ounces. And we can see now we go from 145 just from September 6th to September 13th. COMEX vault lost 1.19 million ounces. Well, that's strange. I thought they were acquiring silver for the ride up. They're selling, it looks like, as the price is going down. The price is $14. I doubt they bought a million or some odd ounces at this price. Their average price has got to be a lot higher. So if you assume that this is their silver, they just took a loss. They just sold 1.19 million ounces. Now, maybe it wasn't their silver, and one of their dumb clients decided to sell it against their... Well, that would mean that some of the silver in there isn't theirs. Well, hold on a minute. I thought, part of the theory is that all this silver's got to be theirs. They take delivery in their name. All right, well, maybe that's just a one-off. Well, no, it wasn't a one-off because that was the 13th. And then I notice on the 18th, they do it again, only they sell even more. Boom. Now, what's happening here? Looks like on September 13th, they had 144 million. Now they only got 142 million. They sold 1,781,715 ounces. Well, why? I don't get it. What's going on? JP Morgan's hoarding silver. JP Morgan's going to ride the train higher. Don't they want every ounce they can grab their hands on? Since September 6th or 8th, whatever it was, they've sold nearly 3 million ounces, or 3 million ounces has left the JP Morgan Chase depository vault. Now, why is that? It's either clients, which means then not all the silver in the JP Morgan vault is theirs, or they're selling if it's theirs. Now, I don't believe it's theirs, I don't believe any of this stuff, but the point is, if this continues, the whole theory falls apart. I think it falls apart anyway for lack of evidence, but why would JP Morgan be selling silver? Now, it's possible that this is just a one-off. It's only 3 million ounces, which is still a significant amount. But if we continue to see the amounts drop, we are going to have to reevaluate this. Now, there have been times it looks like where they have gone on a downward trajectory only to buy more. It's quite possible that for whatever reason they had a loan or move out, 3 million ounces. This doesn't mean that they are selling. Who knows? What's very interesting, though, is the registered stock was never changed. It's always been this number I've memorized, 5,122,062 ounces. So even though supposedly silver left the depository, it doesn't look like it left via a trade or for settlement because it never got registered. So there's another theory that this silver is JP Morgan's. They didn't sell it, and they're just moving it to wherever else they keep this mythical hoard, which, again, if you want to believe that's possible, too, that they're not selling anything. They're just moving their silver to their other mythical holding place. Now, remember, silver's hard to move. I mean, it's not hard to move. Large amounts of silver require a lot more storage space than... so there's not a lot of places that are secure. There's only a certain number of vaults where you can move large amounts of silver. So the reason I mention this is that it's hard enough to prove that JP Morgan owns any of this silver in the depository. And it's hard even to maybe even trust the numbers that they're even said to have here. So you have to A, believe the numbers. You have to A, believe that JP Morgan owns it. But then you have to accept when silver leaves it that they're getting rid of it, unless you want to say somehow they're moving it somewhere else. Anyway, you're basically trying to believe that JP Morgan is a silver hoarder and that they have it for some type of massive gain down the road when somehow they're pulled off their short selling duties by the government and they're going to allow the price of silver to go higher for their own benefit, because then the price of silver will go higher and they'll have it and they'll sell it. I don't know about that. All right. Well, let's see what else we got here. All right. Carl Joseph DeMarco, and away we go. Luke says hello. Why do so many private mints like skull and pirate themes in their silver products? I do notice that a lot of silver does have the skull. You don't see it on the gold. It's interesting. You don't really see people deface gold with skulls and stuff like that. But let's see what else we got. Andrew says, smash that like button, guys. Yeah, I guess that helps. Thank you very much. I don't know if likes help or subscribing helps attract a bigger audience. I have no idea how that works. Joe Lazaro, there was a bill introduced September 12th in the House of Representatives to exempt precious metals from capital gains. Yeah, it'll go nowhere. I mean, they do have them in states, though. Some states have exempted precious metals. Most states have a sales tax exemption on precious metals. But at the federal level, I don't think they're looking to pass that. I heard a conspiracy theory that JP Morgan supported this. Yes, because when silver prices go to the moon, they make more profits. Yeah, I think people misunderstand what JP Morgan is. It's a trading company. It's an investment bank. It's not a silver hoarder. It's not its business model. It just doesn't make any... See, it only makes sense to you if you look at the world as a silver stacker. So you think, well, the world revolves around silver, and I'm a stacker, they're a stacker, they're like me, they understand doom and gloom and collapse and prep. They don't understand any of that. There's a bunch of people that run that company. They're looking to make quarterly profits. They're not planning a 12-year end game. I mean, who benefits from that? You got to remember, it's not like there's a guy, JP Morgan, who's going to make the money. They're all grabbing their fiat profits, their bonuses, which are based on meeting targets. They're not based on one day silver's going to ride into the sunset. It's going to be $300 an ounce, and they're going to cash in. And remember, the price of silver. I mean, even an 800 million ounce stash is worth what? $13 billion? And remember, that's not their profit. I mean, that's what it's worth today. They probably paid $20 billion if they had $800 billion. And the price would have to rise. Yeah, it would go up maybe $1 billion. You know, every dollar it goes up $1 billion. Where's it going to go? I mean, if it goes to 50, so they double their money on what so they double their money. So what? They do that in a day. They're not going to wait 9, 10 years, 12 years to double their money as part of a scheme. I mean, if anyone came, if you were the guy, if you were Jamie Dimon, they said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to tie up a few, 10, $20 billion. And in 10 years, we're going to make 30, 40, 50, $60 billion. They're like, we make $24 billion a year. Why would you do that? But in any event, some people will believe you might do that. Doesn't make any sense from a corporate standpoint, from an investment bank standpoint. They've already, if they have bought that much silver, they're already down in the hole. And they'd have to show it on their sheets that they're lost. Everyone says, oh, they don't have to show anything. Well, okay, if you want to believe that JP Morgan will just do whatever they feel like doing because you don't like them, and you want to believe that they're going to do something that's going to help silver, go ahead and believe it. But you might as well believe in the Great Pumpkin. All right, what else do we got here? What's up, peeps? Is Alan Wheeler. Hey, Alan, what's up? Likes your move, your video up in the search. Oh, Luke is saying yes. Likes move your video up in the search list on YouTube. Haha, they really don't. Yeah, I don't know what they do. All right. Well, anyway, I'm going to track this now. This JP Morgan silver position at the COMEX depository. Can't read much into it yet. The fact that they've had lost 3 million ounces of silver in the last week or last week and a half doesn't mean anything. But again, it would be a stronger argument if the number was going higher. But even if the number goes higher, it still doesn't mean anything. So it could just mean more. I mean, the Brinks COMEX vault is also doubled in the last year, as has the coins and things COMEX vault in the last year. We saw that in a prior video. So all of the COMEX vaults are filling up with silver. It's not just JP Morgan. Now you can make up stories too that they're all holding it on behalf of JP Morgan. Well, maybe they're all holding it for Goldman Sachs. Who knows? All right, everyone. Well, thank you very much. Go and check out the Russian. I give you the link for that. The Russian Gold Reserve Edition link right there. And thank you very much. And please consider picking up your Smaulgld mug tonight. I'll put in a free game changer eraser. Tomorrow I'm doing an interview with SD Bullion, although it probably won't be up tomorrow, so I'll have that up whenever they have it up. And please consider becoming a Smaulgld patron or donating via PayPal or Litecoin or Bitcoin or whatever you'd like. Let me get you the link for the PayPal. Got another comment here. JP Morgan gave some to the feds. New coins are now being issued. Well, I did, that was one of the theories I did have, if you want to play along, is that the reason that they would have excess silver was if, due to the price falling, they created a silver shortage, and that would then automatically maybe put pressure on the paper price higher. Well, they could just push the silver into the market and avoid that. So there is that argument. That's a way of lowering the price of silver. You could say, well, they've been doing it with paper all this time. Yes, but it does come to a point where the lower price does prompt the physical demand, and if they can't meet the demand, naturally the price will probably start to rise even on the paper side. Mugs are money. They're a store of value. Absolutely. Hey, you want to see those mugs? Because mugs are cool, and you can get the Smaulgld Classic and Super Classic mug with no shipping, with a Smaulgld Game Changer eraser tucked inside either the Classic or Super Classic mug. I'm going to get you that right now. The Classic is two-sided. First of all, here's all 4 mugs. The super classic is on the left and the classic on the right. Those are available directly. I'll mail those out to you directly and put the Smaulgld Game Changer Eraser. But the espresso mug below and the Smaulgld to go mug, those are available from the manufacturer, the Smaulgld manufacturer, and those you got to order from the Smaulgld store. I've given you the link below. Let's just see what else we got here. A way of pictures for you. Here's, if you want to see that, there's the classic and super classic, or the classic and the super classic. Yes, they're stacked. You can stack mugs. And if anybody wants to try this, I've had some success with this. Someone was able to hold up their iPhone, go into their Loaf wallet, and send me, can you imagine, Litecoin. I don't know how you do it, but it's an interesting process. You get like this, there you go. I don't know what that's called. It's not a barcode, it's something. And you can send Litecoin, and that's my wallet. And people have sent me, they used to send me Bitcoin, and I had them converted, so I didn't make any money on it. I got like $25, and then $50 once, and I think I got a total of $100 back in like 2015 when the price was a few $100s, and I had it converted. But the price back then was like $300 or $400 or $500, $600. Oh well, that would have been a nice piece of money. Let's see. Alan, if you want to send, yes, I do. You can send it here. I have a P.O. box. That's very kind of you. That's where you can send silver. It's very kind. Luke says, do rising interest rates really create a headwind for gold, or does history demonstrate otherwise? I think it's the real interest rates that create the headwind, but they generally do. I mean, if you look at what they did in the 80s with the rising interest rates, then gold went down. But even when they lowered them, they were higher than the rate of inflation. It depends on what the real interest rate is. But right now, the way they're jiggering with the interest rates, there's some fear that well, you have to rethink that globally though, because you have zero and negative interest rates around the globe, and the price of gold in euros isn't going any higher. Bank of England, same thing. They got quarter-point interest rates. It's probably not. It's definitely not a dispositive indicator. Silver bullet, silver shield. That's very kind. QR code. That's what it is, Andrew. You hold up your phone and you just say, I want to send Smaulgld Litecoin. What every man should have in terms of gold, U.S. Oh, I have charts on that. Gold versus housing. Housing prices have been declining since the 60s. Hold on. What every man should have. I'm not sure that's true. Let me pull a chart on that. Silver has been a disaster. I remember Mike Maloney saying you would be able to buy, I think he said, a normal house with a box of Silver Eagles or something like that. And he said it in 2000 and I believe it was 11 or 12. And he said no later than, and he said in a couple of years, I think it was by 2015. But that didn't happen. But let me see if I can get you gold housing. Gold housing. How do I look this up here? I know I have a chart on it. Yeah. Let me see. Gold housing. It's how many ounces it takes to buy a house of gold. No. How many ounces of gold it takes to buy a house. I don't know if I can find it right away. I used to have it. Is this it? Housing ratio. Yep. All right. I found it. I'm going to make a chart and So that's the housing prices. Here's the ratio. Okay. I have the chart here. It's up to date. This is a Nick Laird chart. This is from Gold Charts R Us. It's a subscription that I've been on. I make a lot of my own charts, but Nick makes so many of them. He has like feeds for just about every piece of data relating to gold. It's an amazing thing. You can just spend hours flipping through the charts, and they're all updated pretty much daily. That's Gold Charts R Us. I think the price is $180 or $200 a year. But let me get you that folder right now. So this is going to be gold housing ratio. And we're going to pull that up for you, and you're going to see it. We could take a look at what it says here. Let's get your chart up here. Okay. Sorry, I'm taking a bit of time here, but I want to get it so we can take a look at this. All right, here it comes. Gold housing ratio. All right, here it comes. And the question was, in terms of gold, U.S. housing prices have been declining since the 1960s. All right. Let's see. Well, take a look at the chart there. I'm not sure. I mean, it used to take a lot of gold to buy a house in the 60s, and then it definitely didn't take much by 1980. And then it went back up 2005, and then it went back down, definitely 2011. And now it's, so it's, yeah, you're right. It's about the same. It's definitely lower now than it was in the late 60s. You are correct. Yep. Take a look at that chart and you follow it through. It's a good observation without having a chart in front of you, what every man should know. Thanks for that. Luke, well, thanks. Maybe not your wheelhouse, but where do you see S&P head in 3 months, 6 months, a year? For the last 4 years, I've been saying to myself, this is just priced too high. But, it can continue to go higher. Mainly because there's no other investment, and also because I believe that the central banks pump money into it. I think ever since Greenspan in 1987 staved off the stock market crash of 1987 in October, when he said the Fed stands ready, willing, and able to inject liquidity, or whatever he said, I think that's when they realized that the U.S. stock market, like the dollar, is a strategic asset. And they need to always have a strong stock market. We've been through business cycles, obviously, since 1987. But the stock price the market just goes up no matter what, it seems. Price was supposed to go down when Trump came in. Like, no, we can't have that happen. Price got to go up. So, at some point, how high can you boost the stock market? You have companies today that 10, 20, 30 years ago would never even gone public, like Tesla. You can't have companies that don't have earnings, having multi-billion-dollar market caps, and yet we have that today. So there's definitely a new way of valuing stocks that doesn't take into account the way they used to with earnings and PEs. There's new levels now of PEs. There's also stock buybacks, ridiculous stock buybacks. How long can it go on? That's the question. Could it go on 3 months, 6 months, a year? Could we be 20% higher? Sure. There's always at some point it has to stop, but who knows when that is. All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody. And we will see you tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And also check us out on BitChute. Gab, Twitter, Minds.com, Facebook, which I don't like, and Google+. And, of course, Smaulgld.com. See you tomorrow.